Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully everybody made it on the time change situation. That was a little interesting. On that note, we'll see what happens, but I may be moving back this to 8:30 or 9 when it starts getting nice out. So just letting you all know, because it's going to get nice. Michigan's had its fill of some pretty good winter this time. So I'm guessing there's going to be some people wanting to get out of there, get out and use the sun as much as possible. This is the first time I've done this when there's an actual beautiful sunset just over my computer there. Love it. So thanks, guys, for showing up tonight, even though you have no idea what time or any possibility of what's happening right now. So tonight it's the 1% tribe. And what we're going to talk about is the value of self-evaluation. This should be Julie. Hello. It's good to see you, kid. I'm working on some cool stuff. Now that the winter is gone, we're going to do a couple things at the old barn here. I'll do a couple wet seminar type things too. So I'm pretty pumped. Oh my God, Julie. We went to this home show. I got it. So my wife decided we need a little date night. Tomorrow is Rachel's birthday. So we're like, what can we do? Because Tuesday's kind of a tough one. Lexi's done. So she's got an event. So we went to the home show. And at the home show, one of the neatest things that I was completely fascinated. They had a little webinar, just a couple, an hour maybe, of native plants. And I thought that was fascinating, like where I've been studying that a lot, like with, in my brain, I kept saying there's got to be, like in our heads, why wouldn't we just plant all these beautiful plants around our house that you could turn into herbs? Echinacea is gorgeous. And half these herbal plants are gorgeous. Well, it was actually on that native plants. Did you know, not only if you start getting into native plants and the work reduces by like a ton, because these native plants don't need like watering and all those kind of things. Their root system, guys, so crazy grass. The root system's like 5 inches deep. No, I'm sorry. It was even worse than that. It was like 3 inches deep. It wasn't much at all. Did you know echinacea, the root system, is like 7 feet or I'm sorry, yeah, 7 feet or something like that. There's one native plant that brings in monarch butterflies and all these like actual bees because of all the different things. It's if there's one in Michigan, it's 15 feet in the ground. Why is that important? Because it creates this microbiome underneath the earth that allows your house, your around your house to become like less erosion. So if there's an area you're worried about erosion, think about natural plants like that. I'm fascinated. I just, I did it this last year. We did little. I tried to figure out what herbs in Michigan would do really well. Oh, we had so much fun. It was like it's an easy garden to do. I did some lemon balm, oregano. There's quite a few different ones. We learned that in Michigan, we're actually in the perfect mix of what they call I'll call it tree foresty kind of environment. And then we're right in between where it's big giant prairies. And so like, you go west of us, you have these prairies and stuff. So we're actually in a really good spot for, just a variety of stuff. So when you're trying it, throw some herbs in the ground, see which ones that you can make into a tea. Like this one tonight, I have ginkgo, right? Ginkgo, but echinacea you could do and have a little echinacea tea every time. So just that was one of the cool things we saw this weekend. I didn't mean to go too far, but tonight is called the self-evaluation. We're going to talk about, yes, Julie, you're my expert. Julie's going to be helping me with learning this stuff because it was crazy how informative that is and the power of your own earth around your house. It was amazing. Like the amount of stuff you can bring in. She said something really fascinating. If you see the predator animals, so like spiders, praying mantis, those kind of things, that means you're doing a good job because that means there's enough other animals coming in to kind of hang out at your place. So just remember that as you go, right? So with that said, I would like to do our 3 things we found this week as far as data that is going to be pretty good. So this is a research piece. Lycopene. Lycopene is the element or stuff that's found in tomatoes that make them red. They get that red color. And what they found with that is all the good redness. It actually decreases depression. It's anti-cancer in these areas: pancreatic, ovarian, cervical, the female cervical, and liver. And then there's tons of effects. So if tomato, there's a little controversy. It's not really a controversy, but it's true. Like getting the meat of the tomato could be a really good thing. Sometimes eating those seeds can cause digestive issues. So just kind of getting rid of those seeds is not a bad idea. But the rest of that plant is like awesome, especially with the lycopene in there. Like the list was big and I was running late. So there's a lot more to it. But I thought like decreases depression and anti-cancer is a pretty good one. And then it has tons of digestive as well. Here's one that was interesting just for today. Did you know that time shifting, the time shift or the time thing that we went through tonight, where it's supposed to be 7 and now it's 8, does impact our health? In fact, there's an increased rate of car accidents and heart attacks, which is weird. I don't know what the correlation on heart attacks is, but the correlation between those happened after the shift in time. What they suggest you do is try to practice going to bed a little earlier and make sure you're getting that good routine, because if you kind of force yourself out of your biorhythm of sleep, it could affect your health as you go. So just remember that. I thought that was a pretty good one for today, because we're all going, it just March, like early March. I didn't know that happened then. I always thought it happened in like April or something. But anyway, My last one is I'm very excited because I should have thought of this myself as a doctor, to tell people to do it, because most people won't do it. And I think this could be a huge, huge piece as we age. Plyometrics. So plyometrics is exercise where you're jumping or hopping. So you could think of like a box jump or a jump roping, right? Or something like that is kind of plyometric work. Okay. So they call that plyometric exercise. And it makes sense as we age. If we do some kind of hopping or jumping exercise, you're actually going to do a bunch of things. Number one, you're going to strengthen yourself. You're strengthening your muscle system. But the biggest thing for my women, number two, is increased bone density. Because if you get that ability to be able to jump and hop, that means your shock absorption system of your cells is reactive and said, hey, I need to have some, muscle or the bone structure. So I'm going to build it. So just remember that as you go, because that is a huge thing. And then the biggest one, like I see it a lot as we age into our, let's say, late 70s, 80s, we start losing the ability to feel our feet. And so you have this, you become what they call a fall risk, like you could have these major falls that can happen. And if you're doing like jump rope for a long time, you're going to strengthen a lot of those, and your feet, your nerves of your neurology of your toes will be really good. So just keep that in mind. That's a good one to kind of go after. So tonight's going to be kind of fun. It's called self-evaluation. It's a chiropractic holistic thing. I think it's pretty much in any profession, really, but we're going to take it something that you want to do every single day. And it's a big part of living holistically, as we go. So we're going to look at that right now. All right. So it's called self-evaluation. Hopefully this will make a lot of sense. Okay. So here we go. So what we're going to go over tonight is learning key areas that you want to evaluate yourself in all these aspects of health. Remember the three keys as a chiropractor thinks: thoughts, toxins, trauma. Those are the three pillars of the things that we want to pay attention to every single day. How are our thoughts? How is our environment with our toxins, our foods, our radiations, our all those things? Trauma. How is, the physical work we do? Okay. So those are the three that cause us health related issues. Okay. So we call them thought, toxins, traumas. That's what, like, if you think in terms of an easy way to think of it, my neck goes out of place because I read too much and I strained my eyes, which made my neurology of my eyes strain, which messed my cervical spine up because the neurology had to adjust to get around that. Toxins is food poisoning is a good one. And that can cause your low back to hurt, which would knock your vertebrae out, right? And then trauma is the obvious. I lifted a log. All right, so we'll go on from there. And so from here, and then the last thing, learning innate intelligence. Remember what innate intelligence is the body's ability. We have an inherent intelligence within each cell. Each cell of our body has this inherent intelligence in it. And what it's doing when it's showing us this self-evaluation is showing us the signs it wants us to pay attention to. And so that's what tonight is kind of about. Innate intelligence will give us what we need. And even when it has to get our conscious attention, and we'll talk about that. A good example would be when you're hungry, right? When you feel the hunger pangs of needing something to eat. That's an innate intelligence telling you that your cells of your body are doing that, right? It should be absolutely incredible, but we kind of take it for granted at that. Okay. All right. So what do I mean by self-evaluation? When we go to school, when doctors get into school, you start going through all these different conditions. And what happens is over time, we start seeing all these different symptom after symptom after symptom of all these sicknesses, right? So one of the things that occurs in all doctor school, nurses school as well. They can tell you this too. You start thinking you have all this stuff. So you start thinking you have all this stuff and you start evaluating yourself quite a bit. So what occurs is like all of a sudden, you see this specific rash that's on the wall or, like up on the screen from the teacher. And then all of a sudden you go, I had that rash before, and it's almost like too much self-evaluation, if that makes sense. So a lot of times we understand where this is coming from, but what we want to do in the holistic world is have an understanding of what is a good self-evaluation to do. And you don't have to know everything about what's happening there, but asking questions and asking the right questions can help you. All right. So let's see. What else did I write in there? Tonight is understanding these a little more and understanding that the more you know, the more you can take your health from a mystery, right? That's what gets scary is like when we don't pay attention, we don't self-evaluate. And because when we don't do those, then it is a mystery and then it becomes a problem. So that's why tonight's pretty important, just in this whole journey as we go. So by knowing what normal is and consistently making a habit of checking it, your health will become more exciting and better than it ever has. And I promise you that's true. And that's why this is so important yet boring, if that makes sense. This is probably the key to the whole understanding when you need to get adjusted, understanding when you actually are hungry, understanding how your body reacts to food. These are all self-evaluation tools that are super important. And so what happens is we kind of ignore it, in the medical world that we have. So, all right. So let's see what else I wrote. We need this new focus on self-evaluation because if we can focus on being the best we can be, we begin to create a massive shift in health and healing that is literally universally expansive. Okay. So I want to go through that a little bit tonight because this is the mental side. Tonight is when we talk about those. We live within energy. Okay. Energy drives the entire everything. Okay. So we used to think we were just a bunch of little, atoms or molecules or cells put together. We're not parts and pieces. All of these parts and pieces, all these cells of our body, everything around us is connected. And because of that connection, sometimes when you start to improve your health, every time when you start to understand being aware of how your health is and constantly improving it, you are invariably improving your energy. When you improve your energy, you improve all energies around you. Okay. So what's cool about that is that you start being controlling of your energy. Because if the more confidence I have in controlling this energy, the more your health is a journey and not an absolute chaotic nightmare. Okay. And so a lot of times we allow in our world, when we said, here's our healthcare system. Well, actually, it's a sick care system. We know that. So here's our sick care system. We're going to just give it to the doctor and hope to goodness this guy figures out what's wrong with me. That is our problem. When we did that, when we gave our power to someone else, and we gave our self-awareness to someone else, we inherently were going to have problems because it's never was designed to be like that. It never has. Like the doctor was there to fix things. Yeah, sure. Or be a helper on the way, but he wasn't supposed to completely fix you, like from just being sick and all of a sudden you're healthy. And so one of the things that this self-evaluation can do is start to have you on a path where you control that situation. And if you can control that situation, then life changes. It changes. I'm telling you. So, and when all of those start to happen and you can see like complete awesome miracles happen, like we see in chiropractic every day, then you start understanding, oh my goodness, this person just needed control, of it. I can't use his name right now, but I'll give you a testimonial. I had a guy I don't know how to describe it. It was, this is about a year ago now. It was about wintertime last year. And he literally came into our office with no leg function, basically. No leg, the function of his leg was like there was nothing. He was like literally, the pain was so excruciating, wasn't sleeping, anything. We were concerned, obviously. We were like, okay, you need to go to your medical. And he's like, sure, I will. And he did, he'd go in, but he had to wait. So he had to wait for this MRI. So we were like, oh man, I don't know. If you're up for it, we'll do this every day. Check you every day, because I don't like you having to sit around. At the time, for some reason, he couldn't get an MRI for 4 weeks. And this guy was having major problems. Like he couldn't use his leg at all. And so with the help of Dr. Matt and myself, we kept adjusting, seeing how he was doing, kept adjusting. And I'm like, oh, we're just waiting for this MRI time, because we just didn't want to leave him alone, just sitting there writhing in pain either. The neatest thing happened. After a week and a half, he went from wheelchair to crutches to like nothing. And it was the most miraculous thing. I just thought of that story today, because it was like last week. He comes in and he's a very physical guy. He farms, he does wood, nothing. It was amazing. And the reason, a lot of times you can do a lot of these things. And part of it was his self-awareness. Now he knows not to allow him to ignore what was being told to him prior to that. So that's one reason I wanted to tell that story. He kind of knew his back something was going on, like months and months prior to him coming in and having that issue. So that's what tonight is about. Anyway, sorry. All right. So when you self-evaluate and are able to make these small changes, you will change your world literally. Okay. I'm getting all philosophical on you guys tonight. It's very good. All right. Why is self-evaluation important? Continue. The cells, your entire matter. Okay. So all of your cells can only be in 2 different modes. Okay. And your energy, your innate intelligence of your body can only be in 2 different mindsets. And these both are called growth or protection. So if your body is in a series of growth, then things are thriving, things are moving, everything's going, your cells are moving. Literally, you're making your own stem cells. This is when your body, your innate intelligence is flowing, things are feeling good. Maybe not even feeling good, but feeling good as far as like feeling healthy, those kind of things. When you're in a protective mode, your body doesn't care how you feel anymore. It just wants to survive. And so a lot of times when you feel this, and we go through this self-evaluation, you can feel yourself kind of like, okay, am I in growth or am I protection? Am I feeling like I'm growing, or am I in this mode of like, oh, I'm protecting all the time? And you'll understand where that comes in. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Hopefully this is making sense. Sometimes I overthink myself, I think sometimes. All right. The ability to change your outcome by listening to your body is the key. Okay. So we don't want to wait until things start happening, right? We want to understand what's happening in that body. All right. And so there's just a lot of talking right now, guys, until we get to the cell. I think this next one is when we start talking the cool stuff. So, but that's the idea, is we're going to go through the whole body self-evaluation. All right, here we go. All right. This easy peasy stuff, guys. Easy peasy, but super important on one thing: the awareness, the mindset when you do them. Okay. Because most of us are going to say, oh, yeah, maybe I'll do this. I'm talking every single day. Okay. It's one of my biggest keys to my whole world, is making sure that I do a lot of these things before I even start my day. All right. So when you start in the morning, you want to wake up and you want to stretch every single joint in your body. Be like your animal. Be like a cat or a dog. Stretch every single one from your hands, all your fingers to your toes. Every single one, you should be moving. You should be extending them. You should be stretching them out in some way. Watch a dog or a cat do it 2 or 3 times, and you will know. Move those bodies in all the different locations. Any kind of motion that you need to have, constantly moving them around. Okay. Do this as soon as you get up. It's nothing hard to do. Now, if you see something, say something. Makes sense, right? So all of a sudden you're like, hey, wait, my shoulder's not working as hard as it should be on this one side. All right, noted, right? So now do we run to it? Do we have to run anywhere? No, not necessarily. But I'm going to evaluate that shoulder the next time, or I'm going to do things that kind of make sure that starts to improve. So the first thing I would do in all self-evaluation, move every joint that you physically can, every finger, every toe, every cervical, every neck vertebrae movement, back, all of those things. Make sure everything is flowing. Okay. That's why I love the upward dog, downward dog from yoga. Usually one of the best to really feel how that spine's moving back and forth. So you start doing those kind of things, you're going to notice a big difference. How does it feel? Is there one? Like I play adult basketball, and my kid is making fun of me because it's taking a while to heal this bad boy. I know, going by principle number 8 in chiropractic, there's no process that does not require time. So I have to give it time. But dear Lord, I smashed it into the ground. It was not a good thing when you jam your finger like that. But because I move it every single day, I've had total range in this joint. I wasn't afraid to move it, right? So that was a big one. Okay, so that can tell you a lot. It can tell you a few things. Let's say one day, here's a good one on the joints. Let's say one day you ate like crap. You had like sugary stuff. You ate 3 pieces of cake and blah, 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 right? Then the next morning you get up and you do your joint evaluation, and all those joints are like stiff. Like, man, all my joints are stiff. That's weird. I wonder what that's from. Maybe it's telling you all the sugary stuff you had was causing inflammation in your body, and it caused your joints of your body to inflame. Wouldn't that be good to know? I would say so. How about like stiff? Let's say you had no water. All you drank was pop for like a whole day, and you felt dehydrated, right? And you went to move all your joints. You're going to feel that stiffness. So you're like, what does my joints feel like? And that's the other part of the self-evaluation. Feel the joints out, and then you can really find something. Okay, so now the next one. The next one is taking, this is one of my favorite. We got to go back to breath exercises too, guys. I want to do remember Andrew Weil? I think I put him on there again last week. I believe so. He's Andrew Weil, MD. Holy smokes. I'll put him in the chat. Oh, by the way, while you're all here, I'm going to get on Rumble. If you're not a part of my little channel, I'm up to 24 members to my Rumble channel. Oh, shoot. I just screwed that up. Go back. Hang on. There we go. And boom. Become part of that channel too. So that would be good as well. So anyway, so as we're going, so like when you have one of the biggest things is as you're stretching, I would do a deep breath. So, and what I mean by deep breath is big chest breath, big belly breath, the whole thing. Okay. You can do it in many different, that's why I want to do a breathing one, because there's so many good ones. I would hold my breath for like 5 seconds. We'll blow it all out. Number one, there's a lot of reasons for this one. Number one, it feels amazing. Okay. It's one of those things that really can move, and it moves your joints. So that's why I put them kind of together. So we can stretch every single joint in our body, but then we can also take these big deep breaths and blow it all out. And then that will help a ton of different things. So with deep breathing, there's so many things that could happen. You're actually increasing the circulation of your body by taking these deep breaths. A lot of times our circulation problems are the breathing, because if you think about what you're doing, it's a big pump, right? So your lungs are this huge, massive pump. And if I'm not, breathing very good, I'm, in and out and shallow breathing, you're not going to build up much pressure. But if I breathe in and breathe out, you're building up pressure and you're building out and you're moving fluids through your body. And maybe that's why we can't get stuff out of our lungs in general, right? We want to get as much of that in and out, in and out. We don't want stuff staying. If you in and out, you get much more, push out of those lungs than if you just sort of do it. Right. So that is a big one that I really like. And sometimes you can actually feel, most of you know what I'm talking about. Let's say you got like a cough or something and you take a deep breath in. You can almost feel where you got to stop because of the cough type situation. So that'll tell you something as well. So it's like, okay, maybe I should take maybe I take some elderberry for my lungs, something like that, even though you might not have anything, but it can help you evaluate, right? Okay. But now we're going to look at the next one. This is hilarious. For everyone that's stuck around, this is totally worth it right here. We're going to self-evaluate. The biggest self-evaluation tool for your remember, thoughts, toxins, trauma. So the biggest one is pee and poop. Aren't you lucky, ladies and gentlemen? You're here on, it's 8:35 on a Sunday, and we're going to talk about some pee and some poop. All right. This is kind of a hilarious slide. Hopefully you're enjoying it. But this is kind of a chart. You can find these charts just online, okay? You don't have to actually say it. Don't put any comments in and what kind of type you are or anything like that. One of the things that's so interesting when you go to chiropractic school is that you learn a lot of this, and so then the biggest difference between, I've heard a doctor say this, one of the biggest difference between the doctor and the patient is the doctor knows to look in the toilet to see how their health is doing in their colon and gut. And that's a true story. So one of the things to do is to evaluate what you're doing in the peeing and the pooping area. Okay. And so this little chart, it's kind of hilarious. We won't go through it all because I don't want to embarrass everyone, but there's from diarrhea to constipation, right? And there's lots of different ones in between, lots of different indicators that can happen. And what you want is just nice and easy, flowing, good color, right? It's kind of a gross subject. However, you feel really good if it's like in the thing, because gut problems are terrible. I know around in Michigan, it was a very terrible stomach bug, whatever was happening, still kind of present in the world. But it's definitely one of those where I kept hearing story after story of that's how your body gets rid of that stuff sometimes, guys. So that's a good one. So you knew it was a bacteria because it created the diarrhea kind of situation. You had to get rid of it. Urine is another huge one. You want to make sure you're not completely white all the time, like clear, but you don't want to be like dark yellow either. And that'll tell you a lot. Maybe you're not having any health issues, but did you drink enough water? Right. So that's a big one. So I knew you guys would like that there's actual charts. So if you look up your poop chart, you can just Google image that. You'll find one. Just don't have it on your refrigerator. It's probably not. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. So here's the rest of it. So let's start with how to self-evaluate. Again, how's my hydration? How's your skin? Is it oily or is it dry? Can you pinch your skin and it kind of bounces back? That's another good way to tell if your hydration's good. A lot of people don't think about that. Are your muscles stiff? Are your joints stiff? These are all things that you can do as an evaluation comparative to, what your normal would be. Here's a good one for the same thing in hydration, but how is my saliva? Okay. Do you have dry mouth all the time? Potentially, you could have an issue with water or maintaining water, which is another interesting thing. Sometimes if you have a trouble with maintaining water, you can do some sea salt and just a little bit of that in your water where it's almost tasteless can help out a lot. All right. How's my skin? Skin is a huge one. Probably the most important indicator on the human body. Evaluate it. Is it oily or dry? Is it rash? Is there, different kind of scenarios where you're seeing bumps or, those kind of things? What can we do? Evaluate the day before, right? What did I do? Did I eat a bunch of sugar? Did I have a bunch of, is my gut bacteria messed up where my gut microbiome is not liking gluten very well, right? So all of those things are huge. Another one that I like, it sounds so stupid, but we don't think about it. Can I feel all my fingers and toes without looking at them? Can I feel them? It makes you think about it right now. You're probably feeling right now. Can I move them? Because the furthest part of your body, the nervous system that has to travel is your fingers and your toes. And a lot of times, if you have really good sensation in all of those, that's a good indicator that everything's going well. What if one toe's a little more numb than it should be? It's an indicator maybe a muscle's messed up or a nerve's messed up, things that are happening, but your back doesn't hurt, right? So that's where the chiropractic could be super interesting. Another one that kind of goes unnoticed, sinuses. How do they feel? Do you feel you only hear it when it's super clogged, right? But how does your sinuses feel? They feel good when you push on them. Do you get a little stuff? Because a lot of times sinus pressure comes up on people really quickly. But if they notice prior to that sinus thing happening, they would have felt the sinus thing, going, and that would have made a big difference for them in attacking that sinus problem. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tonight. I got a couple more slides, but the way I want you to remember this is in the morning. I want you to, because what I just went over is a lot to kind of go through. So we got to figure out a way to remember it at first until it becomes like a regular thing. This for me is a regular thing. It is. You get up, you get evaluated. It is awesome. I actually add in the morning, I do meditation or visualization, and it depends on which way. So I do a meditation at night, visualization in the morning, or visualization in the morning, meditation at night. So, and we'll have some other videos on those as well, as we get closer. I want to reintroduce that. That was always fun. But the way I remember it is as soon as I wake up, I say head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes, head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Thank you, God, for the beautiful day. So it's a dumb, terrible rhyme, but it works and it gets you thinking about those things. So why get all those? There's all kinds of other stuff to that rhyme, but you can go in, kind of check everything, whatever you feel like. But the more you get into self-evaluation, the better your health is overall. All right. So what's the last one? Okay. So we've done. So think of this. So when you do these evaluations, you are doing, so far we've gone through, we've knocked out all the toxin options because we're looking at poop and pee, we're looking at skin, we're looking at all those, we're looking at stomach, all those kind of things. So that takes out it helps us evaluate toxins. And then our trauma, all our joints, this is the one, a lot of people miss that one because a lot of times we're really focused on the toxin portion. But one of the bigger things is like, how do you evaluate each joint? So we've done that. So we've taken out toxins and trauma. Okay. So the biggest one that I would like to go over tonight, so we'll end with it. That's why. But one of the hardest ones is thoughts. So thoughts is a very difficult one because it's so programmed in, and it's very well, all of them are programmed in, right? So let's say your shoulder doesn't work right, but it's a program of an old shoulder injury that you got to keep fighting through. All of them are like that. But thoughts can be a tough one. So what if so basically you got to wake up and evaluate how you're feeling. Feelings will indicate how your thoughts will go. And so if you can do that, if you can understand how the thoughts become things, that changes your day, right? And so if you can wake up on this certain side of everything, you end up changing your entire outlook, which will change every cell in your body, which is so cool. Think about that. So here's a good example. So let's say we wake up every morning and tomorrow's Monday and you hate going to wherever you work, right? That's not going to tell your cells, hey, this is a great time to be alive, right? It's not going to be the time of like, oh, I'm so healthy. I feel so good. You have to figure that out, right? So if you wake up and you're like, this sucks, I got to go to work, blah, blah, blah. That is probably the number one reason I bet most people have major health issues like over time, because we don't go in with something of a different manner than that. So we have to figure that out. So we have to say, okay, here's the evaluation. I'm like, oh, I got to go into work. Now I'm lucky. I get to go into work. My people are great. It's really fun. It's like chiropractic is just a blast, right? Not everybody gets that, right? And so sometimes you have to find other tools like for me, and we'll go over a couple of them. Like what changes that narrative for you? I'm going to give you some words that we can use to kind of change that perspective, because I know not everybody goes into like what I get to do, right? But if we understand where we're at and we have evaluated and self-aware of what's happening, life is really good. Okay. So are you worried about everything in the world, or are you ready to change the world? Those are two different thoughts, two different cells, right? One is not going to thrive very well, and the other one might blow through a day that's minus 50 and it wouldn't even matter, right? Think about this. What if you won the lottery, but you found out Monday morning when you had to go to work and it's minus 50? But you just won the lottery. Would it be hard to go to work at minus 50 if you won the lottery? Newsflash, everybody, you did. You got this awesome body with this awesome innate intelligence in you. So that's one way to think about it. Little overkill, but that's how it goes. All right. But the trick is going to be to take that emotion or that thought, right? That feeling, and get it to a place where you can really, really do something by self-evaluating. Don't zombie through the morning. That means you got to have a good sleep and not just, like you can't be zombieing through the first part of your day. Okay. So my suggestion, and I've had a patient say that this is one of their favorite things I've ever suggested to them, because she'd have a headache every day. I'll give you a real world example of this. She would have a headache every single day. One of the reasons was, she did good. She ate different. She did a lot of the things holistically. Well, what we came to was her job was hard. Her job was very, very hard. It was, in the child abuse situations, but she was really, really good at it. The problem I have is, the job is hard. I can't say just don't do it. Why? Because we need those people. We need these kids to get saved from that, right? Those kind of situations. So we can't exactly say, oh, just quit. We could say it to everybody and no one would do the tough stuff, right? That'd be the easy way. So there's got to be a way to get our minds to a place where we can do those things, right? Because you're going to save something. So what I told her is you're going to have this sticky note and I can't remember what her sticky note was, but I know these ones. They use a sticky note like, today is the day I'm going to make someone smile. Today is the day I'm going to change the world. Today is the day I'm just going to help somebody. Today I'm going to feel better than ever. Okay. And one of the things I really suggest is, Amy's not here tonight, but I would suggest, we have trained her in a technique that allows us to see what the subconscious program is, even if you can't see this. So the thoughts that you think, sometimes they're just a rerun all the time, right? And what Amy has learned has helped a couple people already, which is really, really cool. In this emotional thing. And what they do is they end up coming up with some really good things to kind of break those thought patterns. Okay. The other one I like, it's called the emotional guidance scale. I'm going to show you that. And just to make great words of affirmation are always a good idea. And then the other one that I like is, let's say you have a difficult job, but everybody there has a difficult job. Why don't you, it's called playing with. So have some imagination. I heard this once. These two buddies kept going, all right. Too bad nobody's into Parks and Rec. I wonder, I should get that clip. There's a clip in there of these two young guys coming in, and they're going to own a club. One day they want to own a club, but they're working at the Parks and Rec department. But man, when they get into the Parks and Rec department, all they do is talk about this, all of this club and what they're going to do and how they're going to set it up. And it's the coolest part of that is, if they were doing their job like they should have, then that part of it would have been perfect, because that's what you want to do. Like you can do a great job and still make that you're going to be, you're going to be the. So that's something you can do very, very easily. Okay. So just remember those type of tricks. Okay. So this is the last slide I think I have. This one's going to take a little bit of work. So I'm going to go through it tonight, but one of these days we'll go through this really. One of the things you can't do in emotions, because feeling is a sense. Okay. So it's like a sixth sense. You can't move from these huge jumps. So you can't give yourself a break while you're doing this. You can't be at the point. So I'll read all the emotional ones. So there's love. Love is number one. Passion, happiness, belief, optimism, hopefulness, contentment, boredom, pessimism, from frustration, overwhelmed, disappointed, doubt, worry, blame, discouraged, anger, revenge, hatred, jealousy, unworthiness, and powerlessness. So what this shows is this chart. Now, let's say you're at a point of anger. Okay. If you can hear how many words were in between, there's 17 words between that anger and love. Okay. You're not going to jump there. Right. So you can't give yourself that kind of like, oh, I'm just going to be in love today. No, that's not how it works. If you're angry, you're going to move it up to, all right, I feel better because I'm blaming somebody for that anger. Right. So just take those steps, and we'll go through that at another time, because I don't want to keep you guys all night on our time situation. But because the emotional guidance scale by itself is really, you take these little steps. All right, good. I'm back. Okay. Each step gets a little, you use words of affirmation or use words that you can do and walk through that process. So hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight. Let me see. I got one more. What can we do? Get yourself a sticky note. And remember, head and shoulders, knees and toes. Get up, evaluate all those pieces, right? Especially start with the physical. Check out your pee and poo. All of you do it. You gotta do it. Making sure those things are there. Start that day like that. I promise you, the change that you will see is fantastic. It's just like the 1%. if you get things moving and you have a dedicated intention to it, you can change your health. And these little things are more important than the big things that we always talk about. You can always grab any kind of herb, anything, blah, 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 but it doesn't really matter if we're not listening to what our body says. Okay. So just remember that as we go forward. So that, my dears, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me and catching me early. So I'll keep you posted if we go later. Just depends on how the gorgeousness of a night goes. So with that, I will leave you. Have a great night.